welcome to another edition of CEBL Weekly. I'm your host, Sean Woodley. Thrilled to have you back with us once again for your once-a-week download on all you might have missed in the CEBL over the last week. This week on the show, we have a chat with the leading scorer in the Canadian Elite Basketball League, Brandon Sampson of the Newfoundland Growlers. Plus, the power rankings are back. Can the number one Hamilton Honey Badgers become the first team to claim top spot in back-to-back weeks? We'll see just that coming up shortly. Plus, we take a look at some of the best dunks of the young season and get you primed for the week to come with my game of the week and the calendar check. But before we get into all of that, can we just take a second to give it up for the Elam ending? I know we've talked about it before on the show, but more and more I'm growing convinced that it truly is the way of the future in pro basketball, with this CEBL season offering up the very best examples of why it's so darn great to date. And not to go all please like my league on everybody, but because I'm obviously an NBA fan too, I have some opinions here, and this year's postseason in the NBA, congrats Golden State, yada yada yada, offered a lot of reasons why the current norm in finishing games is going to let you down more often than not. Dr. Nick Elam, the creator of the Elam ending, broke down exactly how lackluster the finishes in this year's NBA playoffs were with a tweet over the weekend detailing the types of finishes we saw. Of the 93 total playoff games this year, 69 of them ended with a team dribbling out the clock with the result already decided. 18 ended on a meaningless shot attempt with the game already in hand, and 5 finished on unsuccessful possessions that could have decided the game, leaving just one, a piddly, stinking, measly one game finished with a meaningful basket. And there's more. Of the 93 games played in the postseason, 37 were ended by deliberate fouling to slow the passage of time. The trailing team went 0-37 in those games, in those attempts to come back, and there were only 5 teams who managed to even cut into their deficit by fouling. By the time this CEBL season's over, we'll have over 100 games played, each and every one of them featuring a game-deciding bucket without a single intentional foul in sight. Folks, we love the Elam ending. Bring it into the NBA. What are we doing here? Well, it gets no secret, it's been a rough go for the Newfoundland Growlers in their first CEBL campaign. As it stands, they sit 0-7 with a handful of narrow losses on their ledger that make that record all the more painful to look at. But there has been one bright spot, and that's been Brandon Sampson, who currently leads the CEBL with 23 points a game, and of course set the single-game scoring record in a CEBL game with 42 back against Ottawa a couple weeks ago. Brandon was in town with the Growlers to take on the Guelph Nighthawks this week, and we chatted about how he's getting used to life in the CEBL, and I asked him the most important question for any St. John's resident: has he been screeched in yet? This is your weekly spotlight with Brandon Sampson of the Newfoundland Growlers.
So you're Brandon Sampson, a former LSU standout with 115 games of G League experience, 14 career NBA games played with the Bulls back in 2019, and you're trying to work your way back to the biggest stage in basketball. How exactly do you end up playing hoops in the most northeasterly pro basketball market in North America? As Sampson says, the word is out on how good the CEBL is, especially after 5 different guys from the 2021 season landed NBA contracts this past year.
I knew the league was continuously growing. A lot of guys coming from the G League told me about the CEBL. CEBL is growing. So a lot of players were coming up. I knew Cat was here last year. Moon was here last year. Great player. I played him a couple times in the G League. And Pat just told me, just come over here and be me. Yep. Just to be me, do everything I can to just play free. And I think I did a good job at that, starting it off. And just trying to continue to do that and excel in that area. And just coming up here back to piggybacking about what Patrick told me coming over to play for the team. So just coming here being me, trying to get you back to that level. And big credit to my teammates and them just trusting me with that, as well as the guys getting no impact. So yeah, it played a big factor in me trying to get back to the highest level. And I think I'm doing a good job at it for now. I mean, things are not on the winning side right now, but things are turning over for me, and I think I'm playing freely that I've played in most years. So.
It did not take long for Sampson to make his presence felt in St. John's. It took just 2 games in the CEBL for him to set the league's single-game scoring record with 42 points against the Ottawa Blackjacks, erasing 𝘕𝑕𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢𝑟𝑒𝑢 former 3-time MVP. Perhaps because he didn't even realize he'd set the record until well after the game.
I actually didn't. That's the crazy part. I was just maybe sitting down. We didn't get the turnout we wanted. We ended up losing by 1 or something like that at the buzzer. And I was just sitting down and I overheard him like, "Oh, your new record leader." And I was like, "Yo, I have 42." He was like, "Yeah." So yeah, it was pretty cool, man.
Did you message 𝘕𝘫𝘀𝘀, the former record holder, to tell him?
Nah, not yet. I'm pretty sure he didn't like that. No, not yet though.
Sampson had another acquaintance in the building that night he dropped those 42 points. Ottawa Blackjacks guard 𝘊𝘌𝘠𝘢𝘠 Jr., who played some games alongside Sampson for the Chicago Bulls during their NBA stints, and was also his point guard that same year when down with the Windy City Bulls of the G League. Though it was a little hard to rub the 42 piece into his old friend after losing the game by just a single point in Elam time.
If a lot of people don't know, I was on a two-way, so I played a lot of time with Walt in the G League. So he was my point guard in the G League when I was on my two-way. So yeah, Walt's like one of my close homeboys coming from that side. So yeah.
So you guys lose to them by 1 point. Did you have some words?
Man, I gave him 42. That's all I can say. But they won. So it's not much you can say. But I can say I gave him 42.
Newfoundland has to be a bit of a whirlwind place to get acclimated for a 25-year-old from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, especially one who'd never stepped foot in Canada prior to this spring outside of a single trip to Toronto with the Bulls back in 2019. But as Sampson notes, he's enjoying his time at St. John's, even if he's yet to endure the grandest of all traditions for newcomers to the Rock.
I'm really tuned in with St. John's. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. You know, everybody was telling me, oh, it may be cold, it may be this, that, and the third, but the weather. But I'm really enjoying it. It's my first time in Canada. The weather's not the greatest right now, but they told me it'll get better in July. So city's nice, people are great, and just the whole thing is just real family-oriented in Newfoundland. So I have nothing but good things about Newfoundland. It's great, man. I have to get screeched in.
Yeah, that was my next one.
Screeched in, man. Everybody's been telling me. I guess I have to do it, but I don't know when, but I guess it's coming real soon. So.
As far as the team's on-court struggles, Sampson seems to think he and his team are headed in the right direction. They still sit stuck at 0-7, but 4 of those losses have come by single digits, including narrow losses last week to arguably the 2 best teams in the league on the road in Guelph and Hamilton. And while a tough Western trip lies ahead before a season-long 4-game homestand to begin July, the league's leading scorer thinks the W's are going to start flowing soon.
Definitely. You know, guys coming here with this season, this team and things like that, we only know each other maybe 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks at most. So just trying to catch that turning point and definitely taking strides, you know, losing 1 point. So it's definitely little things we can critique to make those outcomes different. But I definitely think we're growing as a team and my teammates are doing a good job at that. So we just have to try to keep pushing in the right direction and try to turn this thing around.
It's that time once again for my favorite segment of the show. It's the segment where I powerfully rank all 10 teams in the CEBL based on their performance of late. It's Power Rankings, baby. Let's dive back in. We've had 3 different teams claim the top spot so far this year. Can we get a repeat for the very first time? Let's find out. We'll start with number 10, the Ottawa Blackjacks, who have now dropped 3 straight games, and their lone win of the season was a 1-point win over the Newfoundland Growlers, who have yet to win a game. That win alone, however, is not enough to get them out of 10th place here. While the team in front of them feels like they're kind of making some forward progress lately, the Blackjacks seem a little stuck looking for answers. 3 big games this week against Niagara, Edmonton, and Scarborough might just be their last shot to start reeling in some of the teams sitting comfortably in the top 8 of the standings. Let's see how the new import signing and former West Virginia guard Tavon Myers helps the cause in his debut this week. At number 9, we have the Newfoundland Growlers, and it still feels like they're right on the brink of a win, which is why they get their first bump out of the basement on the year. This week, they dropped single-digit decisions to 2 of the hottest teams in the CEBL on the road in both Hamilton and Guelph, and Brandon Sampson continues to lead the league in scoring. They've got just 1 game between now and the next time we record the show, and I'll gladly make a declarative statement right now. The Growlers will have a win to show for their efforts before we speak next. In the 8th spot, we have last week's number 8, the Montreal Alliance, who stay static this week, which is a problem for Montreal, who now sit at 3-5 after a 3-game losing streak. In 8th spot, with the championship weekend host Blackjacks, one of the 2 teams behind them, it actually leaves Montreal on the outside of the play-in picture looking in. They need to pass at least 1 team before it's all said and done, and they'll have a really good chance this week to do it with 2 of the 3 games they play up against the 4-4 Edmonton Stingers and the 4-4 Saskatchewan Rattlers, both on tap. Those are huge ones if they want to start to reel those teams in and move up the standings. In 7th, the Edmonton Stingers are the big fallers this week with 3 straight losses dropping to 500 and at risk of falling into the danger zone that Montreal currently occupies. The Stingers are a deep squad with all sorts of guys who've been through it together in previous seasons, but they need to figure out how to really score if they're going to be in their familiar perch atop the CEBL when it's all said and done. Edmonton currently ranks in the bottom 3 in points per game, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and 3-point field goals made. They've got to get some offensive juice if they want to get back on track. In 6th spot, we have Saskatchewan. A bit of an up and down week for the Rattlers as they fell early in the week to Scarborough by 16 points after it looked like they really figured some things out in their big 17-point comeback win over Niagara last weekend. They followed that up, though, with a thrilling 12-point win over the Edmonton Stingers at home on the back of their 3-headed scoring monster of Scotty Lindsay, Tony Carr, and Devontae Bandu, who all eclipsed 20 points in the game, combining for 66 of the Rattlers' 97 points in the W. Lindsay and Carr both sit in the top 5 in league scoring at north of 20 a game, while Bandu's 15.3 a night has him in the top 20 as well, and number 3 amongst all Canadian bucket getters this season. In 5th place, we have the Scarborough Shooting Stars, and these 3 4-4 teams really made my job easy this week. Saskatchewan took down Edmonton by 12 in their tilt on Friday night, while Scarborough beat Saskatchewan by 16 just 2 nights before, and of course you combine that with Scarborough's win over Edmonton back on June 12th, and the power of transitive property makes this pretty easy. The Shooting Stars simply must be the #1 team of these 4-4 squads. They occupy the 5th spot. In 4th spot, we have the River Lions, and this was a serious bounce-back week for Niagara after their 17-point collapse last Sunday left them sitting at just 4-3, but Vic Rasso's side picked up back-to-back business-like wins over the Alliance and Blackjacks this week. They'll get a chance to rest, recuperate, and practice now between now and July 1st as they'll play just one single game against Ottawa to close out the month of June. All the talent is here for a second-half run in Niagara, with the return to the #1 spot they held a couple weeks back certainly not out of the question once the calendar flips over to July. In the 3rd spot, we have the Fraser Valley Bandits, and no team has gotten better play out of its Canadian talent this year than the Bandits. While import guard Shane Gibson has really come on strong since arriving, including a massive 29-point explosion to help secure a win against Scarborough on Saturday, this team revolves around its star quartet of Canadians in Alex Campbell, Kadre Gray, Murphy Bernatowski, and Thomas Kennedy, who have been good for 59% of all the buckets poured in by the Bandits this season. If you're looking for proof of concept of what a team with a star import surrounded by excellent Canadian talent can achieve in the CEBL, look no further than the last 2 champions out in Edmonton, who were built mostly around 𝘕𝑉𝑢𝑟 by fantastic Canadian talent. Shane Gibson might not be exactly 𝘕𝑉𝑢𝑟, but Fraser Valley's Canadian contingent could surely give Jordan Baker, Adika Peter McNeely, and friends a run for their money. At number 2, it's the Guelph Nighthawks with their high appearance of the season. No Kat Barber due to injury, no AJ Lawson due to an NBA workout with the Dallas Mavericks. No problem for Ahmed Hill and the Guelph Nighthawks, who at long last picked up the franchise's first ever win over the Hamilton Honey Badgers on Father's Day at Sleeman Center. Hill, who's typically been more of the Pippin to Kat Barber's MJ in their time as teammates, was the leading man in the victory with 23 points on 18 shots to help bring down the league's top-seeded team. That's now 5 straight for the Nighthawks, and if they can tread water until Barber recovers and Lawson returns, there's no reason to view Guelph as anything but a legit title contender. And at number 1 for the 2nd straight week, it's the Hamilton Honey Badgers, because we can't be total prisoners of the moment here. Yes, Hamilton lost to Guelph on Sunday, but past performances need to be considered here as well, and Hamilton does have an 18-point win over Guelph already on their resume from earlier this season. All told, Hamilton's 2 losses have come by a combined 7 points, and they've got it all right now, from star imports, elite Canadian talent, multiple scoring options between Caleb Agata, Christian Vital, Kobe McEwen, and so much more. For the first time this season, we've got a repeat #1, although Guelph is certainly making a push for that top spot. We'll have to check in next week to see if they can vanquish their friends from down Highway 6. If you know me and my tastes at all, you know that my favorite part about basketball is dunks. I love dunks in all their forms, whether it's transition dunks, alley-oops, poster jams in traffic. You really can't beat a top-notch dunk. Let's take a look now at the 5 best dunks so far in the young CEBL season and what has to be my favorite feature we've ever done.
Kyle Johnson into lane. Johnson, tough shot, can't knock it down. Khalil Whitney's going to get a free ride here. Whitney comes in. 5, slamma-jamma, putting it down for the Newfoundland Growlers. Have a look at this again. Look at that.
Be key down the stretch for the Rattlers. 𝘊𝘍𝘠𝘠𝘠. Nice pass down low there with a big dunk to finish. Basket will count, can be free throw as well.
Hill to Lawson, will drive and puts down the hammer. A.J. Lawson.
They just got to continue to play the game and limit the runs and try to make it hard for the Rattlers' top players.
Gray, wonderful, into the seams, and boy, he's going to get the harm as well. Kennedy and Kadre Gray with some nice chemistry early on in the season.
Kind of like swung open almost like a door when he got hit, as opposed to if you're taking that.
Oh, wow. On the inbound, alley-oop and slammed home. A.J. Lawson. Guelph leads at 28-19. Guelph run. Make it 10 points for A.J. Lawson.
Time now for my game of the week, the one game you simply must make time for to watch this week in the CEBL. Of course, you should be watching all of the games, but if you're one of these people who has like children and responsibilities, this is the one you should be carving out so your family doesn't bother you while you're watching. Of course, it is Saskatchewan and Montreal this week who take each other on the 26th in Saskatchewan at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a really important game because of the details that I went through in the power rankings regarding the Blackjack spot in the standings and how that's screwing everything up in the bottom of the standings here. A team is not going to want to finish 8th ahead of Ottawa because that means they'll still miss the postseason, with Ottawa having guaranteed passage to championship weekend, meaning these teams got to start climbing and putting distance between them and Ottawa right now. At 3 and 5, Montreal is the team most at risk of being on the short end of the stick here, but Saskatchewan at just 4 and 5, if they drop this game, will be right in that mix as well. This should be a huge one with massive implications for the end game of the season on Sunday at SaskTel Center. Be sure to tune in. Now, if you do have more time in your hands to watch more than just the game of the week, that's what the calendar check is for, baby. Let's take a look now at the upcoming slate over the next 7 days in the CEBL to see what's on tap. The week gets rolling on Thursday night as the Ottawa Blackjacks take on the Edmonton Stingers at home at TD Place, looking to pick up a crucial victory as they look to dig themselves out of the bottom spot of the power rankings going into next week. Of course, the motivating factor for every one of these teams. Then just a single game on Friday, as well as the Fraser Valley Bandits play host to the Montreal Alliance at the Langley Event Center, with the Alliance looking to pick up a victory, a crucial victory, going into that Sunday affair against Saskatchewan. On Saturday, it's the Guelph Nighthawks hosting the Edmonton Stinger in a battle of two really solid and really deep teams. Will the Nighthawks have Kat Barber and A.J. Lawson back by then? If not, Ahmed Hill will surely be asked to do quite a bit. And then also on Saturday, to back up the doubleheader, you got the Scarborough Shooting Stars playing host to the 7-2 Hamilton Honey Badgers. That one at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Center at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That is the game of the week as part of a doubleheader on Sunday as well, with the Alliance and Rattlers kicking it off, followed up by the Bandits hosting the Newfoundland Growlers, who I did say on this show were going to pick up their first win of the season. This is the only game for them to do it. I'm sorry I've made this prediction against you, Fraser Valley. Then on Monday, the Scarborough Shooting Stars play host to the Ottawa Blackjacks once again at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Center, followed up on Tuesday by a game between the Rattlers and the Growlers as they continue their tour of the western parts of Canada. That one will go down at SaskTel Center at 7:30 p.m. And that does it for another edition of CEBL Weekly. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. In case you missed it, CEBL Mobile, the official app of the CEBL, is now available for all iOS and Android devices. Download now to follow your favorite teams, players, stats, and of course watch every game for the low price of On the House. Also, don't forget to follow us at CEB League on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for all the latest news, updates, and some fantastic content as well. CEBL Championship Weekend is also heading to our nation's capital in August, and tournament packs are available right now. Go get your tickets at cebl.ca, which is the place you can go for every bit of information you might need about the CEBL. For Director Jamie Tan and for Editor 𝘕𝑪𝘢𝑗𝑒𝑟𝑒𝑒𝑟, I'm Sean Woodley. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.